Throughout the Dragon Quest series you get to use many weapons. Swords, claws, whips, boomerangs. But today, the only weapons we're gonna be using are right here, baby. So, can you beat Dragon Quest VIII with only using your fists? Also, be warned, spoilers ahead. I won't be going over the story that much, but it will come up every now and then. And also, I'll be playing a PS2 version instead of a 3DS version because, well, I just don't have it. I've set up a few little rules for this round to abide by. I'll show them on the screen right now. I'm not gonna be reading them for you. You're a big boy now, you can do it yourself. Without further ado, let's just jump into it. As the great philosopher Pythagoras once said, all good challenge runs start with a good name. And well, fuck that guy. I'm not gonna sit here for 10 minutes and think of a stupid pun. I'm just gonna name myself Fight Man. Look, I am fight, I am man. No need to complicate it more than it is. So after booting up the game, we get to see our favorite character, Genghis. The most beautiful man to have ever graced this earth. Also, Yoga's here, dude.
Uh-oh, here comes trouble, Gov.
Alright, tutorial battle has started. Remove those weapons, we're gonna beat the shit out of them. As this is just a tutorial battle, it goes as well as you would expect. However, these slimes, the single weakest enemy in the entire game, can take up to 3 hits to kill. Not that great of a start. First town, Farebury. Please ignore the smoldering house, it's fine. So we're here because we have to find a guy named Master Rylus. The whereabouts are still unknown though. Hey dude, do you have some information? Okay, goodbye. But before we investigate, I'm gonna rob every house of every pot, every coin, every valuable these poor people own. By the way, Rylus has burned to a crisp.
He's dead?
We get back and there's a big commotion happening on the town square. Turns out people don't like Gizmo's ugly ass face. So we get the hell out of there and some girl follows us because she senses we have a good soul or some bullshit.
Come round my house, she says.
She wants us to find her daddy's ball, which is in a cave close by, so we oblige, we're good Samaritans after all. Alright, finally, the open world, we get to actually play, and what is it that awaits us? An hour of grinding. Yeah, not off to a strong start. We could have headed to the cave immediately because of our low level, bad equipment, and we have no healing spells. Which means we do little damage and we die quite easily. So I'm just gonna go over it now because it's quite relevant later on. This game has a mechanic called tension. You get to psych up a character once every turn, and every time you do, their damage output gets stronger. Which is relevant for bosses especially, but also in these early encounters where I barely do any damage. Some enemies use it as well. For the next hour or so I'm kinda exploring the overworld, going back to town to buy some armor, which I get the best of very quickly because I don't have to buy any weapons. So after we hit level 4 we get the ability to spend our skill points. Which, as you can see, there's a Fisticuff skill tree, so you're probably thinking, well, probably best to spend all your skill points in there. Shut the fuck up, you literally have no idea what you're talking about, but you're right for Genghis at least. For now we're gonna give our Kojima character 8 points in courage, which means we unlock Zoom. With that we can teleport to any city, which is really useful for traversing the world. And since I'm a mind reader, I'm gonna read your mind again. You're thinking, there's a Fisticuff skill tree, so clearly it's viable to some degree. No, in all occasions but one, it is worse than every single other weapon in the entire game. It's good in the early to mid game, but later on is really bad. Especially against bosses, I can't stress that enough. So anyway, we helped some old guy in a hut and he gave us cheese, which thanks dude, appreciate it. So I've purchased myself the best available armor and we've gone into our first dungeon. The enemies here take a bit more time to kill, but overall they don't do that much damage. The biggest problem I'm facing out is because I spent all Fightman's money on courage. He doesn't do any damage. This means Genghis has to do all of the hard work while Hero is mostly there just to support him. So without much further opposition we easily get to the boss, and already I'm not too thrilled. He has this really cool mechanic called fuck you, which stuns Genghis, which means he cannot psych up, which means he can do damage. So for now I've reversed the roles. Genghis does all the healing while Fightman does all the psyching. Psych him up all the way to 50 so that he can barely do any damage at all. Which made me realize my mistakes and turn the roles back around again. And the boss's damage output is high enough that I basically have to heal every turn. This can make the fight drag on a little bit and there were some close calls. But overall, he really wasn't that bad to fight and we defeat him without too much trouble. So after we return the ball to Freddie Mercury, he tells us where Dumagus has gone.
What? Gov, he said Domagus, right?
Oh yeah, by the way, Dumagus is the guy we're hunting. We beat the crap out of a few more baby monsters and get Hero to Courage 8, which means we can now start investing in his fisticuffs. And we get to go to a new area. The enemies here aren't that much stronger, but Hero's lack of damage really is starting to show. Welcome to the beautiful settlement of Alexandria. We've got 2 houses, an inn, a church, and a big fucking mansion. Turns out Jessica, the daughter of the family, has gone missing, and we decide to help out for some reason. Back out we go, I guess. They think she went to the Tower of Alexandria, so we let baby open the big ass door. The enemies here aren't that much stronger, but you heard it before. Feigman's damage output is just garbage. Luckily we do get to level him up, and now he does a little bit more damage, so he can finally be useful for a goddamn second. Other than that, this dungeon doesn't put up much resistance. So we get to the top of the tower, and turns out that Dumagus, the guy that cursed Smeagol, is the same guy that killed her brother.
Cool, blimey!
Her mother gets upset that she's angry that her brother died for some reason, and for this she disowns her daughter, which is something I'd be upset over if she wasn't so fucking hot. That entire altercation had nothing to do with us, so let's just get the fuck out of here. So we enter Port Prospect, a town I actually recreated in Minecraft. The stores don't have anything new for us, so we just continue on with the story where Jessica forces us to fight a giant fucking octopus. This guy can actually shit out damage with his flame breath. If you don't pay any attention, he can easily mow down your entire party and kill him. The strategy I use for this fight is have Feigman heal every turn without exception, and Yengus has to psych up to 50 and then deal out massive damage. You do this strategy for about 3 times. Make sure to Feigman heal every single turn. You can fail if you're a bit unlucky, but overall, it's not that bad. So now that the giant calamari has been extinguished, we can safely ride a boat across the ocean. And guess what? Jessica joins our party, which is great because she's an expert in magic. Oh no. The alchemy pot is now available to us, which is nice, but we'll get into that later. Jessica is a mage, which means she has no strength. She will have next to no fisticuffs damage. But because I know how to treat my girl right, I buy her the best clothes before we go out. As the great girlfriend Pythagoras once said, "Yeah, slay girl." So I'm as ready as I ever could be. When I head out, I don't immediately go for the next objective because, well, look at this. Her damage output is basically the same as Feigman when he was level 1. I want to level up her a bit, so hopefully she does a little more damage than 1. After getting my ass destroyed for a while, Jessica does level up. Seeing her pathetic damage, I put some points in fisticuffs, hoping it get better. The monsters off of the main road do a shit ton of damage and use really annoying status effects, which really forced me to play careful. Maybe it's just better to go do the objective for now. Never mind all that, we got Thin Air, baby! Thin Air is by far the best skill we're gonna get out of the fisticuff skill tree, and is great for dealing with groups of enemies. However, bad single target damage and is basically useless against bosses. It also costs 2 MP, which isn't that bad, but since Yengus has such a low MP count, we can use it to spam our way through every battle. However, this does mean that our best resource is already available to us. It may look like we're doing great now, but in practice, we're still in the tutorial area. So after taking an hour to get to the next location, which usually only takes about 6 minutes if you play this game normally, we finally get to Mela Abbey. There's some shenanigans that happen over here, but I won't bore you with the details. So we leave again, we go to the next location, and turns out there's silly little shenanigans happening over here as well. Guess what? We leave again, go back to the abbey where we just came from. Some very important story stuff starts happening. Guess what? We leave again, and we get to enter our next dungeon. Since I spent about 2 hours roaming over, I'm high enough level now to deal with the enemies easily. It's a small dungeon as well, so it isn't too much trouble. So we get to fight the mini-boss Lord of Die. This guy's a total pushover. He has low HP and does very little damage. However, do be wary for his bitch boys. Also, for some reason I was under the impression that Thin Air could not be used with tension. Because of that, I didn't use it the entire fight, and accidentally found out at the very end. I didn't use a particular strategy during this encounter, it's very simple. And with that, we're done with this lame ass dungeon, get out of here! So we head back to the abbey one last time, A guy gets penetrated like me on a Friday night. Angelo swears to get revenge on him by traveling with us. And now we have a new party member. Big Boy's gimmick is that he's a healer, but he can throw some decent damage as well. Now that the party is finally complete, I want to talk about my level up plans, so I don't have to explain myself each time it happens. For hero, I wanted to get courage to 8 first so that I could unlock Zoom. In hindsight, this wasn't that needed, and if you're gonna do this challenge yourself, you could probably skip that step. Then Fisticuffs 42, because at 42, you get to unlock Thin Air for hero as well. Courage to 90, because at 82 you unlock the best heal in the game, Omni-Heal, which fully heals your party. And at 90 you unlock the ability to halve the cost of all your spells, which is amazing. All leftover points will go to Fisticuffs, but at that point we're probably done with the game. For Yangus, I'm just gonna focus all my points on Fisticuffs, because the only other skill tree we get to use for this challenge is Humanity, and that skill tree isn't even that good. For Jessica, I'm gonna get 31 in staves for her because she has some good defensive spells in that tree. Then I'm gonna get her Fisticuffs to 100. He unlocks Thin Air very late at 68, way later than Yangus and Hero. And at 82 Fisticuffs she unlocks unarmed damage up. And for the remaining points, we're just gonna put them in staves. You can put them in sex appeal as well, but I wanna get staves to 100 for Kazing, if that's possible. For Angelo, I want to get up to Fisticuffs 28 first because he does not have Thin Air. And at 28 he has unlocked his best abilities in Evasion up and some unarmed damage up. I want to get Charisma to 13 because at that point we get an ability that lowers an enemy's tension. Staves to 65 because at that point we unlock Oomph, which isn't that needed since Jessica also has Oomph. But the alternatives aren't that great either. And the remaining points are just going into Fisticuffs. The new area we get to doesn't pose too much trouble, but we do run into enemies that are either resistant or even immune to Thin Air. They do a lot more damage as well and have a way chunkier health pool. From now on, more careful play is expected. The run has mostly been a cakewalk so far, but as a great warrior Pythagoras once said, to underestimate your enemy is to be a bitch. And boy was a mega bitch in this next dungeon. It really isn't that lengthy, but long enough for me to have to conserve Yangus's Thin Air. And since the Slut and Manwhore barely do any damage at all, these fights take way longer than I'd like to admit. Especially against these oak-faced retards. They can heal allies and they can also steal MP from you. Which they did on Yangus. Twice. Which basically meant I could use Thin Air 4 less times, which drag out fights even more, which means I had to heal even more, which is costing me a lot of MP. I mean, look at this. Look at what these wood chipper deserving freaks of nature are doing to me right now. They drag a simple encounter out for 5 minutes. They're constantly hitting their allies and I cannot Thin Air them because they stole all of my MP. I tried to psych up the stone throw, but the archers kept putting me to sleep. So I had to focus the trees, but they have a good amount of health as well. I could have played better, but all other options would have costed me MP as well, and I wanted to use it very conservatively. By the end of the dungeon, I've got MP left for about 3 or 4 more battles. I really have to do better next time. But before that, we get to the ethereal realm of 2004 voice acting.
I am Ishmari, keeper of the Moon Shadowland. Many moons have waxed and waned since human flesh.
So we take him to the king, he shows him his dead wife while he's still in mourning, which is a good thing apparently. Glad we could help, dude. I also bought a hunter's bow in town. Why would I do such a heinous act? Not you later, you silly little goofball. Entering the next dungeon, I tried to use my buffs more, like Celerato and Kabuff. However, not even halfway through a dungeon, I noticed I spent a lot of MP. Since there's also a boss, this is just not gonna cut it. Not that it mattered, because these fuckers just killed Jessica on the first turn of the battle. So I evac, heal up in town and go back in. This time around I just had to use Pet Food. This is an ability that lets us encounter less monsters. It's gonna take a blow to my XP gain, but anything for my Discord kitten. When I want to use Thin Air, I make sure to psych up Yangus as well, have Angelo and Jessica defend, and this way I won't be spending as much MP. Outside of battle I make sure to heal with Hero. This way Angelo has as much MP as possible for a boss. This seemed to work pretty well and we get to the boss with a lot of our MP still available, albeit with way less XP we could have had. This boss isn't that hard, but he still poses a decent threat. His desperate attack deals a lot of damage and ignores buffs and armor. Angelo's job is to keep everybody above 85 HP. Besides that, he just got buff spams so that the boss deals little damage with his normal attacks. Jessica isn't that useful sadly because Hungrybox over here just straight up ignores sap, so the only thing she uses is Accelerato and Magic Barrier. I also casted Bounce because Trapbox used a lot of Crackle, which wasn't that smart because I broke my own goddamn rules. Time to do the dungeon again! He also killed Pipeman, which was really funny, let me tell you. Hero and Yangus are there for all the damage. You psych him up to either 50 or 100 if that's possible. Use Multifist with Yangus, which does a little more damage than his regular attack. And use regular attack with Hero because he straight up doesn't have any good abilities. The Box Devourer has a surprising amount of HP, but as long as you keep to the strategy, you should be doing fine. And as a reward, I finally get Thin Air for Hero. So Domegas has been seen moonwalking across the ocean, as if being a clown isn't already badass enough. And to get across the ocean we need to find a ship. So let's go out and start looking for one and yeah, there it is. This raises a lot of questions however. How does a ship that actually looks like a 3-year-old's Lego creation sail? If this used to be the bottom of the ocean, like the game suggests, why is it at the same elevation as almost the rest of the entire inhabited world? Did that entire world used to be underwater? And how did a civilization evolve to create a ship? Why do a few less heterosexual when Yangus is near? The game never answers any of these questions. Anyway, this is the ship we decide to spend the rest of our lives with. So how do we get it to the ocean? Well, that's simple. Magic of course. So since the Furby used to be a king, we decide to head to his old castle and find some answers. However, standing guard is a very naughty slime. So the strategy I use for this fight is have everybody attack. And as long as you do that, you should be fine. The enemies here are pretty tough and have a lot of HP. And if you explore every corner of the dungeon, which you want to do because there's some good loot here, it might take a little while and cost some MP. Ah, look, I found a garter. So we throw that in the pot with our hunter's bow we just bought, and we get another bow! Fuck yeah, dude. It's all part of my massive plan, my bros, trust me. Funnily enough, because of the large enemy groups that spawn here, the challenge was made pretty easy because of thin air. So to get the magic ship, we need to get the magic harp, blah blah blah. We go to the mole's hole, and there's nothing special happening down here, just some kinky dogs and unidentified organisms that roam freely between my toes. So we get to the mole of my dreams and ask for a harp. He doesn't take it that well and makes a face that looks like he's about to make the meanest shit you've ever smelled in your entire life. This is the last boss fight, we can pull off some cheesy stuff. Kebab spam with Angelo again, so that he does barely any damage with his normal attacks. Small moles are no threat at all. They are cute, but I'll murder them just fine. Big Chungus does have an ability that will confuse your party, which will paralyze them or make them attack each other. Luckily for me, both times he did it, my entire party resisted. Mole is dead, who fucking cares? With the harp in tow, we get the ship out of the desert, and now the whole world is open to us, baby. Before I head out to the western continent, I decided to take a little detour to Niels. Enemies here are really strong for us at the moment, but we'll be in and out in a jiffy. Since we have so much gold available from not buying any weapons at all, I get to buy some really good armor. These will be the best we'll have for a good while. So we go to the western continent and there's not much to do in the first town we visit, but there is a very useful side quest. You just have to take his stupid dust and bring it to some dumbass ghost tiger. After kissing him farewell, I send him to the great big box in the sky, and we receive a nice little bell for our troubles. This bell lets us summon a mountable saber cat, which is great because this is the first time ever I get to ride a pussy. Since he travels faster, you fight less, which is not what I want right now since there's a difficult fight coming up. Even the regular fights in the Arcadia area can give me some trouble. Some enemies can kill Jessica in just 2 or 3 hits. A pretty scary prospect when you run into an enemy composition like this. I do a little exploring around the area, but since there's so many swole enemies, I'll do the rest later. So for our next duty, we have to escort this bitch boy to the hunting grounds. Now the hunting grounds really force you to conserve MP, since you have to fight 3 mini bosses here one after another. In between, there are also just regular fights. So you really can be as careless with your MP as you are with your health. I mean, look at you right now, you sloth. So after witnessing the death of his 3 little baby Argonians, the Argonian daddy finds a way into my life once more. Last time I was a boy, now I'm a group of 4 people. You know the drill by now. Psych up to 50 or 100, Kabuff, Accelerator, etc. Only this time we also use Sap and get the ability to use Oomph. If all goes well, we will die in 2 hits. Are you kidding me? I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. This challenge one is not as hard as I thought it would be. The only issue we really have to deal with is that we have a little less damage output than normal. I hope it ramps up soon, because it's honestly starting to get boring. But for now, let's focus on the next boss, because he's a giant difficulty spike. So, my guys, do you remember that one bow we crafted? Well, first we want to make a strength ring. You get it by combining a prayer ring, which we crafted before, and a strength seed, found on the west end of a beach directly south of Arcadia, only accessible by boat. After we craft the strength ring, we need cured cheese. But to get cured cheese, we need to combine fresh milk, premium malt, and Armo Secco essence. But we can only get premium malt by combining red malt, water wheat malt, which both can be found in a lot of places, and an Yggdrasil leaf, which we found when we got the bell. This leaf is only available if you haven't found one yet. Now that we have cured cheese, we combine it with the strength ring and a magic shield we bought from Arcadia. It's only available after you do the hunting grounds. This gives us the power shield, which is a great shield, but we want to use it for something else. We combine it with the bow that we crafted earlier. Alright, here it comes the thing we've waited for all this time. What is it? And it's a bow. It's a fucking bow, dude. Really? A bow? Is that what you're so excited for? Now calm down, calm your delicious looking titties, let me explain myself. When used as an item in battle, this bow can heal your entire party for up to 35 HP, which is not only useful in random battles, but also essential for the boss fight coming up, if you don't want to grind Angelo to level 30. Speaking of, it is time to face our foe, Dulmegas. For now, I've given a bow to Angelo. He heals with it every single turn without exception, and if there's more healing to be done, Hero will fill in that gap. Dulmegas also summons 2 clones which are quite tanky and deal out a lot of damage, which is very annoying. You can try to rush down OG Dulmegas, but I went for the safe route. Psych up Hero and Yangus to 20, and then do Thin Air. If you're asking yourself why I'm not psyching up to 50, it's because Dulmegas has the great Hong Shu ability, and when you're a sleepy baby, the tension is gone. However, this part of the game expects you to have good single target damage abilities, and we have none. This basically means he has a lot of HP, making it a real endurance test. And since Fightman is healing a lot of time, all damage is coming from Yangus. After about 7 minutes, we finally get rid of his clones, making a battle a lot easier. You can also use the most annoying ability in this game, Wave of Ice. This removes all buffs from your party, including tension, meaning you have to psych up all over again. It wasn't that relevant in this fight, luckily, he didn't use it that much. After a few more minutes, we knock him out. He's done. The bow really carried us to victory.
Round 2. Fight.
Bitch, that was the easy part. Because the first phase went so easily, I went into the second phase with a lot of confidence. And he destroyed it immediately after dealing 100 damage against my entire party. Now this guy. Let me tell you about this guy, alright? He fucking sucks. He has a lot of AoE attacks and deals ridiculous damage. If you don't have the bow or have Angelo level 30, you just cannot out-heal it. First I tried stacking up Yangus to 50. But because Dulmegas uses Wave of Ice pretty frequently, this just was not gonna cut it. Because he also has a scream that can knock down Yangus while he's psyching up, I was content to just let him psych up to 20 and then deal the damage. However, he still kept fucking using Wave of Ice. Attacking without tension will do so little to him, I might as well do nothing. And when Yangus dies, all my damage is gone. Hero and Angelo are too busy healing every round because of his insane damage output, and Jessica either defends or buffs because she does like 2 damage. His annoying ass Wave of Ice, together with him focusing down Yangus, prevented me from doing damage to him for a solid 7 minutes. At one point he did an intimidating scream that threw down both Angelo and Hero, and at that point it was just over. I could not out-heal his damage. I died and did the dungeon over again. This time I gave the bow to Jessica. I thought having 3 healers would be a pretty solid idea. But because I have to use the bow every single turn, means Jessica cannot use Accelerator or Oomph, which means even less damage output. And having no Accelerator really hurts because Dulmegas can act before I get to heal. This guarantees a loss. For round 3, I gave the bow to Hero. He has less MP than Angelo. This way we will survive a little longer. This time he used even more wave of ice. My damage output was so slow. It was a real endurance test. I also had to make use of the prayer ring, which restores about 20 MP upon use. And with the amount of healing I have to do, this really came in clutch. If you're gonna do this challenge, definitely bring this with you. After about 25 minutes of fighting this guy, I died. Come on guys, 4th time's the charm. Well, never mind all that then. Alright, but how about we do this for the 5th time? I don't really change my strategy up that much. I was just praying and hoping he would use wave of ice way less. Luckily he did, and we actually got some decent damage out there. And 2.5 hours after I first set foot in the dungeon, we finally got him down. Jesus fucking Christ. That was rough. Oh shit. Jessica's gone. So we go out and try to find Jessica, I guess, I don't know, I was just kinda walking around. Oh, she's evil now. That's good to know. Anyway, we're gonna do the next dungeon without her. Since this dungeon is balanced around having one less team member, the enemies here aren't that tough. Nothing really that interesting happened in this dungeon, so I'm just gonna skip over it. The one thing I do want to mention though, is that we got another healing bow. So after this guy is forced to eat dog food to check for poison, evil Jessica shows her disgusting fucking face again. It comes down to fight. For my name is Fightman. And this bitch, okay? Let me tell you about this bitch. Let me tell you all about her. She summons these really annoying shadow demons. They deal like no damage, which is fine, but the problem is that they're immune to thin air. So the only way for me to deal with them is to either stones throw with Psych Up or deal with them individually. Neither of which I'm gonna do because Jessica can just resummon them. One thing I haven't mentioned is that when you try to Psych Up from 50 to 100, it only has a 33% chance to succeed. And since I thought she had very low HP, I decided to get Hero and Yangus both to 100. Only to get fucking smooshed! So stubborn as I am, I tried to psych him up again to 100. But Yangus kept failing, and failing, and failing, and failing. So you, yes you dear viewer, how many times do you think Yangus failed to psych up? Keep in mind, there's 1 in 3 chance for him to succeed. If you said 10, congratulations, you are wrong. It's 15. 15 damn tries.
Oh, no, hold on, let me grab my
Keep in mind that while I'm trying to psych up Yangus, these shadow demons keep attacking me. Their damage isn't what bothers me, it's just that it takes so long for them to finish their turns. For the second half of the fight, I just decided to turn on turbo mode, else I will be sitting here for another hour or so. The fight isn't that hard besides that, it's just that it wasted a lot of my time, 27 minutes to be specific. And with that, it's time to move on. When Jessica comes to her senses, she tells us that the staff is evil, and that she didn't mean to kill all those innocent families. So now we have a clear goal, finding the staff and destroying it. Reunited with Jessica, we leave town and enter Winter Wonderland. And this area, well, if your child has problems sleeping, just tell them the story about this part of the game. They'll kill themselves instantly and you'll get sent to the deepest, darkest depths of hell. Since this is not something I desire, I'll just be skipping most of this. I'll take this opportunity to tell you how to deal with regular encounters. Because from now to the end of the run, it will be the exact same strategy. The first turn, Hero and Yangus psych up, Jessica uses Accelerato, and Angelo usually uses his bow to heal, else he uses Kabuff. The second bow I found I gave to Hero. If I need any extra healing, I'll use it with him. This way I'll never have to use any MP for healing for regular encounters. For the second turn, depending on how much HP the enemy has, you either psych up again or use Thin Air with Hero and Yangus. Jessica also uses Thin Air or psychs up, and Angelo is still on healing duty. This is what I do for 90% of the encounters in this game. Thin Air is broken. For completion's sake, I'll talk about the boss encounter, but it's just 8 dogs. So what you do is psych up, Thin Air, done. Then Babushka gives us her super key. We use this key to unlock chests in areas we've been before. Most important being Peregin, which has a rune staff. Using a rune staff as an item, it kabuffs your entire party, which is very useful. Not only is it a free kabuff, but it also doesn't remove any tension when used. When I'm done getting a nice soothing puff session, it's time to head out to the next part of our adventure. I decided to do the optional Dragon Graveyards quest, because it's fun, I don't know. The enemies here are surprisingly strong. They do enough damage for both Hero and Angelo continuously having to heal. You have to save as much MP as possible because there's a boss here. Luckily the dungeon isn't that long, so it isn't as much of a problem. After letting the only thing I ever won in life slip through my fingers, we arrive at the boss, or well, bosses. Even though they do not have Wave of Ice, they're still very scary. Redhorn has a desperate attack that can deal massive damage. This kills Angelo and Jessica instantly and can easily kill Feigman or Yangus if they're not fully healed. If they do a little fusion dance on top of Jessica, she is also dead instantly. Since Bluefang can do a shout that removes your tension and he can sap you which makes you take more damage, you should make sure he's dead first. He doesn't have that much health. If you psych him out a couple of times, he should be done for. Don't think the battle's already won, because like I said, Redhorn can deal massive damage and kill 2 out of 4 party members instantly. Remember, tension is king, make sure everybody's at full health, abide by those rules, and they shouldn't give you too much trouble. Next on our list, the Pirate's Cove. This dungeon isn't that hard. As long as you use the strategy that I told you before, this place shouldn't pose any trouble. If you're properly equipped, you don't even have to be that high of a level. Up until this point, I did 0 grinding. Unless you count the first hour of the game. But if you think that counts, shut your bitch ass up. Since the dungeon shouldn't prove difficult, I'll skip straight to the boss. Just like our own party, he focuses on Psych Up and Thin Air, which is very scary and I shouldn't have to tell you why. To counter this, I got an ability for Angelo that removes tension, called Sarcastic Thanks to this, the boss deals less damage. He still puts up a fight by using Wave of Ice. I hate this move so much, I have to buff all over again with Jessica. After a while, I have no MP left with Jessica, and all she can do is defend, so I'm basically down 1 party member. Now Jessica's back to being as useless as she was the first half of the game. I tried to psych up Jaggers to 20 and attack, have Feigman and Angelo heal, but it gets very scary. Thing is, if Captain Crow has low tension, he really isn't that much of a threat. So if he does damage, it's a goddamn buttload of damage. But after he's done pooping all over your party, he has to psych up again, which gives you enough time to heal. And using Sarcastic Snigger, you get to delay his damage, giving you more time to prepare for his poopage. I've never ever had any amount of trouble with this boss so far, so struggling like this was a real surprise to me. But like always, this guy is still defeated on the first try. The real boss was the MP we lost along the way. After this fight I decided I was no longer allowed to debuff enemies, just to make the run a little more challenging. Now that we took the map from Mr. Pirate Man, we get to enter a brand new world. So what exciting new adventures awaits us here? Monsters. And more monsters. Some monster combinations can be a bit scary, but overall they're only one step up from the Pirate's Cove. Just keep psyching and thing-airing fam. All will fall before you eventually. I went to the village elder and he was like, "You must enter the unwashed butthole if you want to continue your quest." And I don't know what the fuck he was on about, but I think I get it now. But before I enter the unhygienic Aegis dimension, I explore the entire overworld again to find any chests that I missed. And alchemize the best available armor, because the upcoming boss battle is kinda hard. So here we are. The world of I don't want to be here too long because it's fucking disgusting looking. Before I fight the boss, I grind a little until Angelo is level 33. At this point he learns multi-heal, which heals the entire party for up to 100 HP. Alright, deep breaths. We can do this. Alright, you dumbass fucking bird. Time to fight. Empyria is really scary because she has really high defense, meaning our fists aren't going to do much. You still can use Thin Air which ignores his defense, but Thin Air damage caps at 300. Since Empyria only has 1800 HP, it sounds like it should be over real quick, but to deal with 300 damage I have to psych up all the way to 50, while Empyria can just use Wave of Ice and reset my tension. She can also blind your party, which really isn't that bad since we aren't using physical attacks anyway. If she uses this, you can celebrate, she just gave you a free turn. Empyria deals a shit ton of damage. Luckily, I'm just high enough level for both Yangus and Feigman to survive 2 attacks. I just have to make sure they are full health at all times. But if Empyria uses an AoE attack, and then focuses down on Jessica or Angelo, they're just dead. As long as I have Accelerato, Jessica's death isn't that bad, but I need 2 healers, so Angelo has to stay alive. Meanwhile, Yengus psychs up to 20 or 50 and then does thin air. Problem is, Yengus' thin air does less damage than both Hero's and Jessica's. Hero is too busy healing, Jessica's too busy being dead, so it's rare for me to hit that 300 damage cap. I have to spend all my efforts on surviving and slowly chip away at Imperia's health. And after finally getting Yengus to tension level 50 once, we kill her. I beat her in only 20 minutes on the first try. This is the best I've ever done against this boss. But then this smug ass bitch is like, "Oh, that was only a test, you say." Kidnaps us, and then it's like, not only is this dungeon dull and uninteresting, it's also not fun. There are enemies here that are straight up immune to thin air, and I don't want to deal with that, so I'm just gonna use pet food and speedrun through this entire dungeon. I come face to face with the big bad bird, and we do fight once more. As you can see, he has 2 minions with him that are quite annoying. You wanna get rid of the turkey first, because he can do an intimidating shout, which knocks over your party members. Gammon is just a weaker Imperia. His damage is a little lower, and he can only add twice sometimes. Since he has no wave of ice, you should kabuff spam again and psych up Yengus to 50. He does have a desperate attack that can kill both Jessica and Angelo instantly, so still be very careful. If somebody dies, you have to buff him again with Accelerato, kabuff, oomph, all those things. Make sure everybody is constantly at full health and you should be fine. The only real thing you have to worry about is that the turkey shouts down your entire party and you can't heal in time, Gammon constantly using desperate attacks, or being fatigued because you just did an entire dungeon. After doing Imperia, this guy shouldn't give you too much trouble. Now that we've defeated Gammon, we've unlocked the power of flight, allowing us access to new hidden loot, most important being the skull helm. When you combine this with Saint's Ashes, you get the Sun Crown. With this you can alchemize the best item in the entire game, but I'll talk more about it when we get there. I grabbed some more loot from the newly unlocked areas and head to Tryan Gully, the only town in the world where humans, monsters, elves and women can all live in peace together. We got some directions on where to go next, and we get introduced to my homeboy.
Drang, would you come here?
Oh, right away!
I want these people to have Kupas's great treasure. Would you go and let the guard know?
Oh, right away!
We spread our majestic wings once more and fight the evil Daogi. Sir Leopold is surprisingly tough. He has a very strong AoE attack and an intimidating shout, so he can fuck up your tension, and if he knocks over your healers, someone is going to die. If you spam Kabuff with your rune staff, his normal attacks will barely do any damage, but don't underestimate this boy because he has an answer for that as well with his desperate attack, dealing massive damage and ignoring Kabuff. I also can rely on a bow as much as I used to because 30 HP isn't that much anymore, so I have to use more multi-heal. Or if things are looking real grim, I even have to use omni-heal. But I can't just keep throwing these spells out because they're very expensive. It's not difficult for things to get out of hand. I don't have Kazing for hero, so when Angelo dies I only have a 50% chance of reviving him. Having to use Zing again and again and again is very damaging to my MP, but it's also very risky because I cannot heal. I forgot to bring my ice shield, which gives the entire party ice resistance, which means I have to heal so much. Angelo refusing to get revived really fucked me over. I do still try my best, but at this point I'm just thinking what I should do better next time. I get Angelo back up and it looks like we still have a shot. Angelo had to do so much reviving this fight, he quickly ran out of MP. I had to make use of the prayer ring again, as well as Yengus' share magic ability. I've been fighting this guy for so long, I'm out of MP. I use my last Omni heal with Hero, and pray he doesn't have that much health left. Hero now has to use his bow every turn, Yengus is just hitting him every turn, no psyching up, and Jessica is spamming thin air every turn. The prayer ring broke, I have no more resources left except for one share magic with Yengus. Every action I take has to be the right one, or else I'll have to do this battle all over. And by the skin of my teeth, I finally beat him. Now that was a fun challenge. So, our reward for killing the evil doggy? Fucking jail. Don't worry, it's not too bad. We escaped like 5 minutes later. And we're ready to get our revenge on Marcello.
Right away!
But first, the item I alchemized with the Sun Crown is a Timber of Tension. By far the best item in the entire game. Using this in battle psychs up the entire party. Which, yes, is as good as it sounds. And since the bow isn't that good of a healing item anymore, I craft something else. The Sage's Stone. Instead of healing your entire party for 30 like a bow does, this item heals your entire party for 100 health points. Insane. At this point, we're basically unstoppable. So Marcello, you think you got what it takes? I gave the Timber of Tension to Hero. He uses it every turn. Yengus psychs up once and then attacks. Jessica uses Accelerator, then ooms Yengus, then spams Thin Air. And Angelo just heals and kabuffs. Hold yourself to this pattern and you should have no trouble at all. Marcello can use Wave of Ice, but since now we have the Timber of Tension, it really isn't that bad. Before delivering a final punch to his guts, we have barely used any MP at all. At this point of the game, this guy's a pushover. Let's go to the final dungeon. So here it is, the final dungeon. And if it isn't obvious by now, we're basically unstoppable. The monsters here have a lot of HP, but the survivability is so high, it doesn't mean much. I take this time to say that I probably should have put more restrictions on myself for this run. Mostly just being unable to use Thin Air because that move really carried me through this entire game. I didn't realize how broken it would be. Or maybe that I'm unable to use any magic or unable to use any items or something like that. Next time I do a challenge run of this game, I hope it will be a little more difficult. So we get another Sage's Stone, yes, another one if you can fucking believe it. And the rest of the dungeon doesn't really stand a single chance. We get to face our arch nemesis, Lightbulb Baby, and it's time for the final showdown. If you use the strategy that I described with Marcello, you should be fine here as well. The difference is that Lord Baby actually has the ability to kill someone in your party. Thanks to his desperate attack, you want to give the other Sage's Stone to Jessica or Yengus, so they can heal while Angelo or Hero tries to revive. Be sure to use your Ice Shield for some resistance, because his Ice AoE attack is actually pretty strong, and be prepared to Kazing a lot, thanks to his Baby Boogie Blaster. He fights a lot like Sir Leopold, but since we're way better equipped this time, he doesn't stand much of a chance at all. We escape the crumbling fortress and fight some easy ass mini bosses along the way. Seriously, these guys stand no chance, especially after you beat Raptorn. And the Lightbulb Baby upgraded to Fatbulb Baby. Phase 1 is all about surviving while you charge the Godbird Scepter, and during this phase, Raptorn really isn't strong enough to really put a dent in us. Also pay no attention to the half-naked lady in my party. And it's on to phase 2 of the fight. And guys, I really wish I could make this an epic showdown for you, but at this point it's over. Raptorn does barely any damage to kill us. I mean, he killed Jessica twice, but that's par for the course. This fight took like 15 minutes, which is less than Captain Crow. How embarrassing, dude. The ending was a little disappointing, so you know what? Let's do the first boss of the post game.